You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
So I'm asking people to identify some belief they hold to. It could be anything at all. And I'd like to ask you questions related to how you arrived at whatever that belief is, how you came to adopt that belief, how you know that thing is true.
Okay.
And just kind of a preview. The questions are a lot of how questions. How did you arrive there? How do you know it's true? How do you distinguish it from it not being true? Stuff like that. And so maybe you can identify whatever belief you have. It can be anything at all. I just ask that it's something that you're fairly certain of.
Like a higher power?
As an example, yeah, it could be one example. It doesn't have to be.
Or like anything?
It could be religious, it could be political, it could be supernatural, paranormal, none of the above. Just some belief that you're fairly certain of and that's foundational for your understanding of the world.
Jeez. It's like such a broad topic.
It is. Like I've talked some examples that I've talked with people
yeah.
about. Like you mentioned higher power. A lot of people pick that. So I have talked to people about their belief in God. I've talked to people.
I believe that kind of everything kind of like connects to each other in the world.
Okay.
I don't really know how to describe that, but I definitely believe everything happens for a reason. If that is what you're asking.
I mean, if that's your belief, yeah.
I do believe that, yes.
Okay. So you believe everything happens for a reason?
Yeah.
You want to elaborate on that?
I just believe that like whenever things do happen, there's a reason for it. You learn from it or you don't learn from it. Like I think everyone should learn from whatever happens, but I don't know. I just think that everything's kind of connected. So like if you talk to somebody, there's a reason that you're supposed to be talking to them that day, or you run into them or something, you know? I guess.
So there's a reason for everything and everything is connected.
I do believe that, yeah.
So let me ask the next question. Why do you believe that?
I believe that because it may be just we're trying to make sense of things, but say something happens in your life and then you don't really understand at the time, but later on something happens and then you can kind of connect to why that happened. You're either trying to connect to it or because it's meant to be.
Okay. So you believe that everything happens
I guess it would be kind of like deja vu, but in a sense of you're just trying to make connections to why that happened.
Okay. So you believe everything is connected and everything happens for a reason because you've had experiences where one thing happened that seemingly made no sense, and then later on something else happened that shed light on that previous.
Exactly.
Okay. On a scale of 0 to 100, 100% being absolute certainty, how certain would you say you are that this thing is true?
I mean, I have like no proof of it. It could even be just like my thoughts and my life experiences. But I definitely believe like you meet everybody for a reason and that this whole world goes around.
Okay.
It's connected. I don't know how, like, I have no idea.
Okay, that's okay. How would you put this claim to the test?
Just going through life and thinking about maybe like everything, maybe like you feel a certain way, so like you kind of write down how you're feeling every day, and then you could make like a self-journal actually and just describe how you're feeling. Like sometimes like days could feel like you have like a film over it, and then something happens and you're like, oh well, that makes sense of why I was feeling that way. Or just like flashbacks. I could give you an example.
Sure.
Okay. Recently on Christmas, I was hanging out with my brother and one of my best friends, and all day we spent Christmas all day together, and it was kind of weird. Like over and over, my dad was like, "You want a piece of gum?" to my friend, and he always chewed gum. There's like a lot of weird stuff. I took a lot of pictures. I said a lot of things like, "You never know when they're gonna need a picture," or just like things to them. And then that night, I left them, and like an hour later, they got into a car accident. And it was like a head-on collision, and they managed to get in between two poles, and the car slid right in between. They could have all died that night. It was my brother, my best friend, and his girlfriend, and I just left them. And then afterwards, all those pictures really did mean something. My brother had broke his like vertebrae and stuff, and then my best friend was in a coma and couldn't talk. And actually, like the gum that he always chewed, and like my dad had kept like saying, hey, do you want some gum? Do you want some gum? Actually like got into his chest and stuff. And it was just like a really, like all things, like everyone just kind of felt a little weird all day. Like it was a perfect day, but there was just some kind of like film over it, if that makes any sense. And then at the end, like it was like kind of weird how everything kind of was like, okay, this is weird how that happened. And like my brother and him had like a life talk about like if anything were to happen and how much like they appreciate life and how great this day is, but maybe they didn't appreciate it before. And so now all of us really, like he's alive today, and only it took a month, but he's like out of the coma talking. And it's just like maybe we all needed each other, because before we weren't very certain like why we were all here or our purpose, so we all came together. So it's kind of like that didn't make sense at a time, but now it kind of makes sense of why it happened.
Okay.
Oh, it's a lot, but
No, I understand. Hypothetically, if there were no car accident that night,
then it,
would that mean that there?
that's why maybe we're just trying to make connections of why, you know, the car accident happened, or why maybe Christmas didn't actually feel weird, and when it happened it felt a little weird. But that's why, like, if you were to keep a journal and you were to like talk about before that happened, maybe you would still have those feelings.
So you're saying it's possible that everything's not really connected, and maybe it's our interpretation after the fact.
Exactly.
Huh.
Because you can change your memory, because like it is like a proven fact that like whenever you have a memory in your head and then you go to like replay it because something happened, you can actually change that memory.
Yeah.
So you could just be changing your complete memory, because we're viewing our memories different. And so whenever we take that memory out, it could be completely changed. And so how you felt didn't actually happen when you felt it, but since that experience happened, it's changed.
So how do we distinguish between, on the one hand, an event being because everything's connected and because there's a reason to everything, and on the other hand, that event being due to just a reinterpretation after the fact? How do we distinguish one from the other?
I guess it's how you want to look at life. If you want to look at it like everything is meant to be and you want to learn from that experience, then you go with that. And if not, you can look back at it's like something else, like a higher power. I'm not really like religious or anything, so if you were religious, I don't know. People are like I'd have like a lot of friends that talk about the ether, which I don't really know about, but
Okay, I never heard of that.
really, I don't know. It's like, I guess it's kind of like how I guess the world is connected, and like I'm not really sure because I really don't know. But that's just my belief. It's just like who knows, whatever it is, the world goes around.
Do you think it's more likely that everything has a reason than it is that we're just interpreting things as having reasons?
I definitely think that it's not just we're interpreting that. I think things for sure have a reason.
And how did you determine that that's more likely than the other conclusion?
So I don't know. You like say I do have, I guess, another specific reason. So I had a boyfriend, and every time we went to Walmart, for some reason, we'd always get into a fight. No, like it could be something so stupid, but for some reason, it was always a lot of tension every time we go to Walmart. So like fast forward to 4 years later, he ended up cheating on me with a girl that worked at Walmart. Who knows? It could just be coincidence, but it is kind of strange, I feel like. And I've talked to other people, and just like little things like that kind of do happen in life, and I don't really think that's like an interpretation, and maybe it is. I'm trying to make sense of it, but I just think stuff like that kind of happens in the world is like kind of how it all goes around.
Is it possible for coincidences like that to happen and yet everything not happen for a reason and everything not be connected?
But if you have a whole bunch of them, then maybe. Who knows? Okay.
Is there anything hypothetically that would disprove your belief that everything happens for a reason?
If someone didn't have the same experiences, or maybe they're just viewing life differently. We're all so different, and everyone kind of goes through the world differently.
Okay. You said if somebody has a different experience?
Yeah, different experiences, different views. Like I could be viewing my world completely different than you are.
So I'm wondering, if your experience leads you to the conclusion that everything happens for a reason, and as you just mentioned, like somebody else's experience leads them to the conclusion that we're it's not necessarily because everything happens for a reason, but because we're interpreting things a certain way after the fact. How do we like weigh the truthfulness of your knowledge claim against their knowledge claim?
I don't think, like, I personally don't think that it's right or wrong, anyone's beliefs. If they want to believe in God, if they want to believe whatever they want to believe. So I don't think, like, nothing's ever black and white. So there's not really, I guess, an answer to that, because it's whatever you want to believe, because it's how you want to live life.
Do you think that us believing something makes it true?
No, it's just how you want to look at life to make you feel better, I guess. You can have a really shitty experience and you can handle it really badly and look at it badly, or you can have a really shitty experience and really look up to it. That's how you want to live life, then it makes you feel better, then do it, even if scientifically proven it's wrong.
Even if scientifically proven it's wrong?
Right. So, like, maybe I don't believe in God, but maybe you do or they do. Maybe it helps them get their life because it helps them become a better person, and that's completely right, I feel like.
If you were wrong concerning this belief, is that something you would want to know? Or would you prefer to?
I don't know, because it helps me move on with shitty experiences, because that helps me connect my life to experiences that happen that I can't control, I guess.
Would it be any less?
They're like in control. They're like uncontrollable experiences that you're trying to make sense of, but you think like the world connects.
Would it be any less meaningful for you if, in actuality, everything's not connected and
Probably not.
you're still able to find meaning?
I'd still probably connect all of it.
Okay. Would that be any less fulfilling for you than believing that everything is connected?
I mean, probably not, because it's my beliefs.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it. I never got your name.
Claudia.
Claudia. Nice to meet you. My name's Raul.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Raul.
Raul.